Today's NFL Draft episode of the Grind Hours podcast. What fake sponsor do you want to give today, Nick?
We are brought to you by Uncut Gems, the movie. See it on Amazon or on Blu-ray.
We've already hit the quota for freaking Uncut Gems.
Yeah, I mean,
already.
I can't stop talking about it. It's too great. it's fun. Seriously, like, everybody out there, watch this fucking movie. It's awesome. I can't say enough good things about it. But now we can say good things about the draft.
That's a great segue. I do want to talk. Last thing that I will say about Uncut Gems for a very substantial part of time. That's probably not true, but at least for this episode, is there are you're either in one of two camps. You either love this movie or you hate this movie. There is no, it was okay. You either hate what it did to you and the viewing experience because what it tried to accomplish is something that's amazing to some people and absolutely terrifying to other people. So,
very true.
I'm in the camp where I really like this movie. I wouldn't say I love it. You and Dixon cannot get enough of this.
It's so good. I mean, it's definitely an experience movie. I mean, it's about the atmosphere that it puts you in more so than the story itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we have the NFL draft today, which is, I mean, it seems like forever since the Super Bowl was played. It doesn't seem like it was 3 months ago or 2 months ago even. It was 2 months ago, not even 3 months. So, I mean, a lot has changed since the last down of football was played. And we are now, as of recording this, 5 hours, 10 minutes, and 2 seconds away from the opening of the draft. Are you going to watch this like it's the Super Bowl, or are you just going to enjoy this like any other draft?
I'm probably going to enjoy this. I wouldn't say I'm going to enjoy it like the Super Bowl, but I'm definitely going to be a lot more tuned in than a typical draft because it's literally the first live sports action we've had in about a month, probably more than a month, I think.
Oh, and way more than a month.
Yeah, and I'm going to be all over this thing, paying every pick, tweeting about it. I'm ready, man.
I'm in the same camp as you. I'm actually gonna watch the entire draft, first round from start to finish, which I never do. What I do is I'm like, all right, I want to see the first 5 picks. I want to see who the Jets pick. And usually I've been able to knock both stones out in the past couple of years just by watching the first 5 picks. But I mean, I've already watched the first 2 episodes of the Jordan documentary, like the Zapruder film, just because they're like that is the first 2 episodes of The Last Dance is my Uncut Gems. I love every single second of it. I've watched it 3 times.
So I've heard it's absolutely fantastic. I haven't had a chance to sit down with it yet.
That's 6 hours of my life I'm never getting back. I'm happy about that. That's perfectly fine. I'm definitely going to do a Last Dance podcast at some point, probably the midway, probably after episode 5 and 6, so a week from now. But anyway, NFL draft, now that we're 5 minutes into this recording.
We're done promoting entertainment properties.
We're going to get into our teams a little bit later because we did that at the beginning of one of our NFL free agency podcasts. So I want to talk desperation time because when people say drafts, you either win them, you can win them and set your franchise up for years and years of success like the Kansas City Chiefs did with the Patrick Mahomes draft, or you can lose them and trying to rebuild just prolongs and you dive yourselves deeper into the abyss. first question right out of the gate here. Who do you think is the most desperate team to get it right in this draft?
I think you kind of have to go with the Bengals because they have the first pick and they have probably the biggest gimme pick of all time. I mean, if they take more than 5 minutes to put their call in for Joe Burrow, then they should forfeit the rights to the first pick. Because it's the biggest no-brainer of all time. But they're a team that really needs a fresh start. They haven't won a playoff game in like 40 years, it seems like. They've had only serviceable quarterback play for the past decade. They were an absolute joke last year. They really need this, and they really need this this coaching hire of Zach Taylor to start working out and start paying dividends. Joe Burrow can be that guy, but I think it's kind of desperation mode, and I think a close second is the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
I mean, the Matt Patricia experiment has not been successful so far. We're entering year 3. They have a top 5 pick. They need to get it right if they're going to have any chance of turning this thing around with him. And if they don't get it right, then they're going to be probably firing him at the end of the year and starting from scratch again next year and just putting another even more tread on these guys' tires. So I think it's those two who are in this situation the most.
See, here's the reason why I can understand the Detroit pick here. The Cincinnati angle, I don't understand it because it's not like Cincinnati's going out on a ledge and saying, we're going against Burrow, we're picking somebody else. Like that, for all intents and purposes, everything since the national championship game up to now, which is 2:55 Eastern time, has been, we're going Burrow. Everything. That is our guy. And that has been the consensus pick since the national championship. Everybody in football is like, this dude. There is not one person that you're going to talk to that's going to say, I don't like Joe Burrow. Everyone likes this guy.
Right.
Everybody.
It's like I said, the biggest no-brainer probably since I don't even know the last one. Probably since Eli.
It's probably it's the biggest one that I can remember for sure. And so if they're wrong, it's not like they didn't get it right and they veered away from the mass and they were trying to be oddballs here. If Burrow misses by some shadow of doubt and just plummets and is a Tim Couch or a Jamarcus Russell, then guess what? We all look like idiots and we were all wrong. So
that's true.
I don't think that they have the biggest chance. I don't think they're the most desperate team. I think they're the safest team because they're going with the consensus number 1 overall pick and the guy who is can't miss of can't miss. So with all that said, the team that I think is the most desperate is Miami. They sucked last year. They deliberately sucked last year. And
it was all about tanking for this season.
It was
tank for Tua.
It was an NBA style sort of, we are going to just tank the shit out of this season. And we are going to set ourselves up to get the most draft capital that we can and the most chances at striking gold in the first round. They have 3 first-round picks. 5 in the first 2 rounds. This is the process in Philadelphia. That's what this is. And if they don't get it right, they look like morons and fools. And everybody in the football world is going to say, see, you can't do this in football. This is not the way to do it. So everything for Miami has leaned on this draft. And if they mess this up, then not only are they going to prolong their time in the cellar and just continue to be the laughingstock of the league, they're going to be looked at as football. They're going to be pushed aside as outcasts for the next like 5 years. They're not even going to be. They're going to be an afterthought. Like, people are going to laugh at them if they get this wrong, and I'm not. And if you think otherwise, then you just don't know how stuff like this goes. If they, and it's on the flip side, if they hammer this and nail every single one of these picks, this is going to be the new wave of how to do it. We're going to, if a team's at the cellar like Washington, and they say, we're going to suck for the next like 3 years, let's just trade all of our good players away. Any player that we can get for a first round pick, let's do that. And I honestly don't know how to. I mean, I hope Miami gets it right because it would be cool. But at the same time, they're in they're in my division. I hope that they miss on a couple of these picks. But like, who knows? And if they get it right, like, there's gonna be the masses that turn to this. And I want to see how it goes. Am I rooting for this to work? Kinda. Am I rooting for this to fail? Kinda. So like, I'm on the fence here. But
it's a weird position for you to be in.
Right.
The reason I don't, I feel the same way about Miami that you do about my Detroit pick. I mostly agree. But the wrinkle I think here is the reason I went with Detroit over Miami is because Miami has 3 picks. So if they want to hit on all of them because otherwise they're going to be laughed at. Like, why did you do this? You know, it was all waste. You traded away Fitzpatrick. You traded away Minka Fitzpatrick, obviously, not the fool's gold.
Not fool's gold, who by some semblance still has a job. I know he's the smartest Harvard graduate who's ever graduated from Harvard. If he still has a job.
Yeah, I don't understand. But they have multiple picks where there's a little bit of a push. They probably can't miss on the 5th overall pick that they have. They can't miss on the quarterback they take. But if they miss on like the 21 or the 27, I think are the other ones they have, it's not the end of the world. And it's also Brian Flores is only 1 year into his program. And they're probably going to write off last year anyway. So this is really his first year, quote unquote. Whereas Detroit, I think, is more in desperation because they went out and they got the home run hire, Matt Patricia, the can't miss coach from the Bill Belichick staff, and it hasn't worked out. And they only have 1 pick. So if they don't get it right, I mean, I feel like the negative consequences for them are bigger than the negative consequences for Miami in the short term.
Transitioning to, there's always draft day trades.
Yep.
There's always going to be one trade, and maybe in some cases it's the Chicago draft where they trade up and get Mitchell Trubisky, and you're laughed at because you could have got Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. And you got Mitchell Trubisky. And
I still don't know how that happened.
They gave a first round draft, a future first round pick, the next year when they could have used it to build on a core, instead of moving up 1 pick. And San Francisco wasn't going to pick Trubisky.
And even then, I mean, we joke about, like, in hindsight, how bad of a pick it was to take Trubisky over Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. And people always say, "Oh, hindsight is 20/20." But even at the time, people were like, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes are the 2 best quarterbacks in this draft.
That's not completely true. There was people saying Watson is the surefire. This guy's the best dude the best quarterback in the draft. There was a conversation for who was 2. There was people who love Mahomes. There were people who absolutely were like, Trubisky is the next Steve Young and Montana, and this guy's going to ride you to the sunset.
But everybody thought Watson was the best.
Right. Everybody thought Watson. But the thing, that's not even the most important thing here. The thing is, San Francisco didn't need a quarterback. They had a quarterback. You could have just stayed at 2 or at 3 and just been fine. That's why Chicago, it's karma, honestly. It's karma. And I always say this, you can't fix stupid. Whoever said that was a good idea to call that trade in is stupid.
You know what it was like? Remember in 2012 how the Browns moved up from 4 to 3 to pick Trent Richardson, even though the Vikings were never going to pick Trent Richardson?
Right, because they had Adrian Peterson.
Exactly.
So with this tomfoolery of a transition, it's all to who do you think has the biggest chance to move up in the draft and get their guy?
I think you have to say Miami because they have so many picks to work with.
Okay.
I don't think there's any question that Joe Burrow is going number 1, and I don't think there's any question that Chase Young is going number 2. So after that, it's kind of anyone's game. I could imagine there's been a lot of talk about Miami moving up to 3 to take Tua there.
Yeah, but the other thing is why, like, this is a Chicago Bears situation. Detroit doesn't need a quarterback. They have Stafford. The Giants don't need a quarterback. They got Danny Dimes.
I agree, but
so just stay.
I agree. I'm just
move
saying,
back.
I'm
back
not saying
into the
it's
top
a good
10.
idea for Miami to move up, but they have the most resources to do so.
And that seems like the consensus as well. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Miami's going to move up to 3 with Detroit. Why? Like, what's the incentive to get rid of one of your picks when you're sitting at 5? Everybody but Cincinnati needs a quarterback. You know who Cincinnati's going to take, and if they don't take him, you're going to get him at 5.
The other team that I could see moving up is, I believe this team doesn't have any other first-round picks, but I'm pretty sure they have a couple of second-round picks, so maybe there's a package that they could make, and it is the Atlanta Falcons. I can imagine they're picking around the middle of the draft right now. They need big help at defensive back, and there's some really good ones up at the top of the draft. I could see them maybe moving up a few spaces, maybe into the top 10, hoping Jeff Okudah falls maybe, or picking somebody like C.J. Henderson out of Florida.
You know who's a dark horse for me who I can't stop staring at, that I'm just like, this seems like it's almost too good to be true, is Dallas. The amount of things that are lining up for Dallas to just say, screw it, screw the long term, let's go short term, because Jerry's a billion years old and wants another Super Bowl before he dies. Like, he's going to look at it and go, I don't give a shit about 2026. Let's go for gold now. And if they really love a guy, I can't see them sitting at 17. I really, really can't. Especially with Dak Prescott looming in free agent. Like, he hasn't signed anywhere, right?
I don't believe so, no.
Let me do a little bit of...
I think they're going to franchise tag him, was the last thing I heard.
Dak Prescott.
It says Cowboys remain confident of long-term deal with Dak Prescott. So they remain confident.
Yeah, everything I'm seeing is Cowboys are open to draft a quarterback in 2020. And if that's the case, they are definitely not staying at 17. Could you imagine Justin Herbert in a Cowboy uniform? Oh my God.
He's West Coast guys like that should just stay on the West Coast. Jared Goff, successful, but whenever they try to come east, it seems like it doesn't work out.
Or Jordan. Could you imagine? Does Jerry have the balls to go Jordan Love?
I was actually going to bring something like that up because we have talked about in the past, even before the pandemic shut everything down, you and I had discussions about, could the Patriots move up and draft a quarterback? And lately, I've been hearing a lot of rumors that Bill Belichick really, really likes Jordan Love, and he's considering all options. You know, that famous quote.
You know what all of his options are?
Basically nothing, because they don't have a lot of draft.
Do whatever you can to get. If Belichick loves Jordan Love, if he loves Love, then he needs to trade the kitchen sink to whoever to go get, because you don't have any other options.
No.
Stidham? Stidham's your guy?
Brian Hoyer is not it.
We know Brian Hoyer's not it. Stidham threw 5 passes against the Jets, and he was tagged to the sidelines because Jamal Adams took him for a pick 6. And it was like 7th career throw. He's not it. If you're throwing pick 6s against the Jets, I know it's my guy Jamal Adams, and he's amazing. Pay the man whatever he wants. But, which is another conversation for another day. Oh my God. If the Jets screw up the contract situation with Jamal Adams, I might send a nuke. I might send a nuke to the sun and just end civilization.
So here's an idea for you.
Go ahead.
Bill Belichick is known to he's known to help out his guys that he really likes if he sees a good opportunity for them. Yes. Tampa Bay is picking in the
early God. No, there's no way in hell.
Now, okay, hear me out. He makes a package to go up to Tampa Bay and take that pick and get Jordan Love there, which includes sending Julian Edelman to the Buccaneers. So now that Gronk is out of retirement, now you get Tom Brady and his dynamic duo back
Here's
together.
Here's why that would never work.
What's that?
And why that's just a pipe dream. Because Belichick still wants to win. Why would he trade his only option at wide receiver to get a quarterback? Just so he has nobody to throw to. He would never do that.
Well, we have to see. He might not be his only option. We have to see what happens with N'Keal Harry, and who was the first-round pick last year. And Jacoby Myers looked decent. He looks like he can develop into something.
If I'm Belichick, and I can't even fathom that I'm putting myself in the shoes of that man, but I'm trading multiple first-round picks. I'm saying I don't care. I know we're going to have to go through some sort of rebuild, but we're the New York Yankees of football. We can't rebuild. We just can't do it. And I don't think Belichick is going to have the stomach to even utter the words rebuilding process.
Right.
So I think he's going to do whatever he has to do to shorten the term where he's not having the greatest chance to host the Lombardi again. And that is, if you love a quarterback, even if it fails, and that's the weird thing, right, with football. If you go for goals and go get the quarterback, and that quarterback fails, everyone says, well, at least you tried. At least you went and got the quarterback.
Yep.
So
that's what it's all about. At least you stuck with your conviction.
Yeah, which is true. It's a quarterback-driven league. Everyone falls in love with running backs. Sorry, Saquon Barkley fans. You know what? That's a thing I haven't thought about in a while. This is probably the biggest anti-Saquon Barkley podcast since he was drafted 2 years ago.
I mean, yeah. I mean, listen, I feel like I always have to defend my statements with this thing. I love the guy. I love him to death. I'm so glad he's on my team, but I wouldn't have picked him. I come from the Don LaGreca school. You don't take a running back at number 2. You just don't. It doesn't matter how good
they are. He's a generational talent. He is probably one of the best running backs I've ever seen. And the things that he could do in a football field are amazing. But I agree with you.
I mean, like Ezekiel Elliott is he was a generational talent too, and he's already showing signs of wear and tear after just 4 years. So,
no, you're right. You're 100% right. But getting into that and talking about positions, that is a loose transition, but we're going to roll with it. What do you think is the best positional group other than the wide receivers? Because everyone's like, oh, this wide receiver class is 400 deep.
I mean, the wide receiver class is amazing. I think quarterbacks, it's a good year for quarterbacks if you need one. I mean, Joe Burrow is one
He's
of
off the board. He's
he's
off
off
the
the
board.
board. Everyone loves him. Tua Tagovailoa, who set all kinds of crazy records and numbers while at Alabama. Justin Herbert is good. Jordan Love, people are high on him. And I've said before, I think Jacob Eason can be a good pro. So I think it's a really good year for quarterbacks. And then I think it's a very good year for offensive tackles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've heard a lot about. We can get into this more in the Giants about which offensive tackle they like better between Jedrick Wills and Tristan Wirfs. There's Mekhi Becton from Louisville, who's a very good player. Ezra Cleveland from Washington, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody named Ezra Cleveland, you know they're a good
No,
offensive.
he's from Boise State.
Boise State, that's right. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of offensive tackle. If you need a good blindside protector, this is a good draft to have that need because there's a lot of solid options available.
I'm gonna agree. It is definitely an offensive lineman draft, and that's not going to be popular with the masses. And so, with the 18th pick, the fourth lineman off the board already, and it's just like, yep. yeah, like whatever. They're big. We're never gonna. The thing that people hate about offensive linemen, it's like they're the most unappreciated people in all of sports, because no one cares when they're drafted, but they're the most important people on a football field, other than the guy under center, and they're like, if you want a good team, you go lineman and not deal. It's not everyone's like, oh, that's the other thing. Everyone falls in love with the defensive lineman in the draft. Everybody, every fan talks himself. If you pick a defensive lineman in the first round, everyone talks themselves into it from a fan base. Oh, this guy's going to be the next LT. This guy's going to be awesome, because they put together a tape of him doing amazing things like LT.
Yep.
So I agree with you with the offensive lineman. I like Becton. I like Wirfs. Is that how you say Wirfs?
Wirfs, I believe is the name. Yeah, Tristan Wirfs.
The dude from Alabama who's that's my. I hope the Jets get Jedrick Wills. That man seems like he is a Greek god.
He's an absolute tank of a person.
He is just. It doesn't seem like he's an actual human being. Like, he's one of the people where you look at tape or just look at him as a human being 6'4", 312, and just go, you are not like the rest of this species. Like,
I mean, even just not looking, the tape is fantastic. Watch any game tape, and he's got all kinds of guys flat on their back. But I mean, the dude's arms are like tree trunks.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about a massive individual.
The other guy I really, really love is Andrew Thomas from Georgia.
Yes.
The other thing with those dudes in particular, Wills and Thomas, is they've played a lot of meaningful football in college.
Yeah.
And they've had to protect some high quality arms behind them. And I like that, because the teams that are going to draft them, the Jets, possibly the Giants, maybe Vegas, which I can't believe I actually said Vegas. Yeah, I didn't do the San Diego thing.
The Vegas Raiders. So weird.
I will make that mistake again. I will call them the Oakland Raiders.
I refuse to acknowledge the Vegas move. It's illegitimate.
Is this another Vegas Knights situation?
No, I have completely eaten crow on the Vegas Knights and turned it around. They are an incredible success story, and really an all-time great story in the history of sports. A first-year team in a market that everyone thought would be a joke, and they turn around and go to the Stanley Cup final. I mean, it's the kind of thing that there should be a movie about one day.
And we should be on that movie should include the videotape of us saying this is horseshit. It's never going to work. I
Yes.
recently watched that video. We could not have been more dead wrong.
I know.
Literally
everything is
laughable.
wrong.
It was It's so laughable about how stupid we look.
But that's the way this stuff goes. Sometimes you're 100% right, and sometimes you can't believe how wrong you are.
Right. Sometimes you're in the Lamar Jackson camp and you're great, and sometimes you're bad mouthing the Vegas Raiders, and getting enemies like whose house, Ram's house.
Yes.
If that dude still hate listening to us, I please reach out to us in some way, shape, or form, either on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. How are you doing, man? Like I want to
doing well.
I really want to see what that dude, because he hates us. He hates us. Anyway, from best positional group to who besides Burrow is there's a lot of caveats in this draft, and in this podcast. Who's your best guy? Who's the guy that you look at this board and say, this is going to be the guy who I think is a can't miss?
I feel like the easy answer is Chase Young, because he's like Joe Burrow. He's the biggest sure thing at defensive end in who knows how many years.
Right.
So I'm going to not go with the easier answer, and I'm going to pick his teammate Jeff Okudah, the cornerback. He is the best. I've been watching college football for a few years now.
I've been watching college football since 1942.
And Jeff Okudah is probably the best college corner I've seen coming into the program since Patrick Peterson.
Huh.
I mean, he does everything well. He's great in coverage. He's great in zone. He's great in space. He's a great press corner. He intercepts the ball. He has good ball skills. He's all over receivers. He's a leader on the defense. I mean, this guy literally does it all. And I think that he's going to have, wherever he ends up, he's going to have an incredible career as an NFL quarterback.
I'm going to go on the other side of the ball, and I'm going to go Alabama wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. I don't think this dude, with the way that you can't teach route running, the way that this dude runs routes. You can teach routes, but you can't teach the idiosyncrasies. I'm talking about it
he has a sixth sense for it.
Right. I'm talking about it like I can describe what he does so well. I can't. I just love watching it. And it's the best that I've seen anybody do it. And he's probably the best wide receiver that I've seen in college since another former Alabama prospect, a guy named Julio Jones. And we know how that turned out. So I'm not saying that Jerry Jeudy is Julio Jones. I'm just saying the last time I saw anybody that was this good, his name happened to be Julio Jones.
I'm not saying, but I'm not saying it either.
Right. It's not like if he ends up being Julio Jones, great, fantastic. I sound like a genius. But I don't know. Like, he's going to be, and he's fast too. That's the other thing.
He's
like
really fast.
Usually the guys that are good at route running, they run like a 4.5, 4.6. This dude ran a 4.3. He's so fast. And that combination, knowing what you're doing in and out of routes that can create space in the NFL, and having the speed to do it. And honestly, that, you know what that sounds like to me, and it kind of sounds like what OBJ was like coming out of LSU, even though his route running is not the crispest in the world. He's still faster than anybody else on the field and will outrun you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and I mean, I wish the Jets were in a position, and we could transition into that real quick. I wish the Jets were in a position to get Jeudy, because I would love for Darnold to throw to him for the next 5 to 10 years. or however long. But I think the Jets need to go the best offensive lineman on the board when they're sitting at 11. There's probably going to be 2 or 3 taken by the time that they get to the Jets, but whatever the best guy is, take him.
I have a feeling that you're going to wake up tomorrow and the Jets' new player will either be Andrew Thomas or Mekhi Becton. I think it's going to be one of those two.
I hope it's Jordan Wills. I really do. That man is, I could watch him throw people to the ground. Like, he looks like a WWE super wrestler, just throwing people to the ground. Like, he is assaulting people, and it's legal.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think the Giants are going to get? Who do you hope the Giants are going to get?
I hope it's Jedrick Wills. I'm 100% with you. I hope that it's him, and I think it's either going to be him or Tristan Wirfs. I think we desperately need offensive line help. For a lot of the offseason,
Judy, you're not going to go wide receiver?
No. For a lot of the offseason, it seemed like they were going to go linebacker. But they addressed that in free agency. So I think offensive tackle is the move here. You need a good blindside protector for Daniel Jones. You need someone who's going to create space in the hole for Saquon Barkley to move through. Wide receiver, I think, in my opinion, is secondary right now. You have some quality options for him to throw to, like Golden Tate and Sterling Shepard. You have guys that are decent, but you really need that protection up front. We always say it starts and ends at the line. You build from the line, and this is the perfect opportunity for them to do that with the 4th pick.
Seriously, I hope the Jets get Wills, and I think I would be more happy with Thomas over Becton. There's something, and it might be just me second guessing, and there's a lot of Jet fans that are like, anybody but this dude. I don't know what it is about Becton. Maybe it's just me getting cold feet, and he's going to be awesome. And like a DeBrickashaw, Nick Mangold type for the next 5 to 10 years. But I don't want them to get this pick wrong. And I hope they go off. If they go wide receiver, am I going to be upset? A little bit. If they go wide receiver, I hope it's Judy or CeeDee Lamb. But I don't know. I honestly have no idea where the Jets are going to lean. I hope to God that I'm happy with it.
The Jets have been burned by Louisville players in the first round in the past, so I do understand a little bit of hesitation. The Calvin Pryor disaster.
He would have been a good safety. He was a terrible corner.
Yeah. But I think Mekhi Becton's a safe bet. He's good player, good guy. I don't think you could be mad. But I do agree with you. I think Andrew Thomas is a little better. But Andrew Thomas also played a lot more meaningful football in college, like we discussed earlier. Louisville was not in the national championship game at any point.
Last thing before we get out of here. Who's the guy that you look at the board and it's the opposite? I'm not touching this dude with a 10-foot pole. Everyone loves him. I'm on the other side of the fence.
That's a hard question because I really do like a lot of the players in the draft this year. But there are a few that I'm really skeptical on. I shouldn't say really skeptical, but I'm a bit skeptical. One is Tua, because we just don't know how he's going to come back from injury.
Oh, he is the biggest stay away of all stayaways for me. That has been well documented on this podcast. I'm not going into that again.
I mean, we've talked about it before. We've talked about the fact that he's coming back from injury. We just don't know what's going to happen. It's a deep quarterback draft. I would go someplace else. But other than that, I can't really say there's anybody that jumps out at me as a guy that I'm really afraid of, quote unquote. Just guys that I'm a little more skeptical on, and he would be one. The other big one that jumps out to me is is Josh Jones. He's a tackle from Houston, and he seems like a good player, but I'm not really sure why he's so high on a lot of people's draft boards. Like I see him ranked ahead of I've seen him ranked ahead of like Cleveland Thomas, Mekhi Becton, and I just don't think he's at that level. I think he has the potential to be the Jason Smith of this draft for tackles, where he goes way too high, and he's an okay player, but he just went way too high, and you never really get your money's worth.
I'm gonna go Chase Young, and a lot of people might scream at me for that, but wow. I understand what he did, and I understand his tape. I watched him firsthand destroy my team. I understand he was in the division that I love or the conference that I love watching in football. I understand the man. But there's something about him and everything that he's either said or the coverage on him that I'm just like, this dude seems a little bit overhyped. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's the actual real deal and going to destroy people like Ndamukong Suh and J.J. Watt for the next how many ever years and just be amazing. But he is the one where I'm the most cautious about if I'm drafting. Now, if you're Washington, you're stuck in a corner. You're not like, you have to pick this dude. You have to. But if I was Washington, I would, honest to God, go somewhere else. I'd go Judy. Like that's how high I think of that man. Or CeeDee Lamb, one of the offensive linemen, because you're going to trade Trent Williams. So, which that would be interesting. I don't know anything, but look out for a Trent Williams trade tonight. Ooh. For maybe the Redskins to try to get back into the first round at the tail end.
That wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, he's been vocal about the fact that he's not happy there. He wants out. And this could be the perfect opportunity for them to get another pick at the back end and give him what he wants and cut ties.
So I'm going to end on that. Be very wary of a Trent Williams trade tonight. With that being said, we've now entered the self-promotion part of the podcast. Nick, what do you got going on in your life in quarantine?
Well, Joe, my name is Nick. You can follow me on all the social medias at Nick Parodies. I am, of course, I'm an actor. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a sports fan. All of that stuff. So you'll see a lot of tweets about sports and a lot of tweets about movies and music and things like that on my feed. And a lot of general joking around as well. And as a filmmaker, without any live sports to watch, I have been deeply invested in watching movies during this quarantine. I rewatched Parasite recently. I've seen it.
You were vocal about that in the group chat, man.
Oh, it's so fucking. I mean, it's probably of as far as Best Picture winners go, it's probably the second best of the decade, like up there with Birdman. I mean, it's a great film. And I also saw the other night, for the first time, I saw another South Korean movie. It's called Burning, and this is a really interesting flick that people, if you like Parasite and if you like Uncut Gems, things like that, atmosphere movies, Burning is one you should definitely check out. So it's another, like I said, it's another South Korean movie. It has Stephen Ewan from The Walking Dead in it as a supporting character. And it's sort of like Korean Taxi Driver, but on steroids. So
I'm gonna have to check this out.
So what it is, it's about this antisocial guy who, like, you know, he doesn't make friends, he doesn't go out, he's kind of awkward, you know, he's a loner basically. And he meets this girl who he knew from back in the day, and she starts to like him, They have a little bit of a relationship going on, and then she goes on a trip to Africa, and she says, "Can you watch my cat while I'm away in Africa?" So he does that, and when she comes back with Stephen Ewan, who was on the trip with her, and they're friends now, and they're sort of, all three of them are hanging out together, and our protagonist just gets more and more jealous, and it's just brilliant. It kind of blew my mind how the movie was able to make these scenes that are so simple, but they're super tense in the context of the movie and in the context of what's happening. Like there's a scene where he goes to the apartment to feed the cat, and the cat doesn't seem to be there. And it's just an ordinary thing. He's like, "Oh, where's the cat? Must be hiding somewhere." But it's super tense in the movie. And the direction is part of that. The score is part of that. There's another scene where he's feeding his cow, and it's like unbelievably tense. And it has a lot of twists and turns in the second half, especially relating to the main character and the Stephen Ewan character. And it has a really, really fucked up finale that I won't spoil for anybody. But definitely, if you got about 2.5 hours to spare, definitely check out Burning. I think it's on Amazon.
A movie with a crazy ending and a cow and a cat. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah.
On this side of the coin, not the fake J. Leo on Twitter, I will definitely be on NFL Draft Twitter tonight, dissecting every single pick. Maybe not to the same extent that guys like Big Cat and everybody at Barstool, who's going to be celebrating this like it's Super Bowl 53. But I'm going to be in there and I'm going to be enjoying it. And, of course, this podcast, jdatasports.blogspot.com. And
follow RST Doc.
Yeah.
We'll be back soon.
It feels like 857 without sports.
I know.
We'll be back soon. Hopefully it'll be back soon. This is some of the light that we'll be missing. So it'd be great to go in the candy shop for about 2.5 hours and then come back out and realize that there's a barren wasteland.
Yes,
Same thing like opening day, where it was fantastic for a couple of hours and you're just like, well, shit, what's next?
I'll leave on one closing note for you. So one of my favorite Twitter accounts, the Bum Chillips account.
Yes.
He said, "So what team is going to lose a draft pick because they can't figure out how to work technology?"
Huh? You know, oddly enough, I think it's the Jets. That is the jetsiest thing to do in this draft.
It's got to be either them or the Browns.
That is a Jets move. Woody Johnson being so technologically illiterate that he doesn't know how to, or anybody in the Jets organization doesn't know how to log on to Zoom.
or Bill O'Brien will do it.
Oh yeah, no. He doesn't.
Everyone will know that it was because he couldn't figure out Zoom, but he'll say that he skipped the pick because he didn't like the vibe.
That man, you want to talk? He is the fool's gold of head coach. He might even be worse than fool's gold of head coaches.
I will never understand why they entrusted this man who has done literally nothing in the NFL with both the coach and the GM job. He's tantamount to Bill Belichick in terms of the influence he has over his franchise. And what has he done?
Gotten you to the playoffs and lost a bunch of times.
Yes.
So on that note, Bill O'Brien, worst of luck tonight in the draft. I hope your Zoom fails and you don't get to pick, and you don't get to have your first round draft pick, which I don't even know. They don't even have a first round draft pick. They gave it to
Arizona.
Yeah.
For David Johnson.
Idiots.
On
that note, It's closing time. You don't have to go home, which you already are, but you can't stay here. Peace.
Adios.